Don't ever buy a condo. This is the breathless advice I've seen from numerous real estate YouTubers, as well as from assorted personal finance gurus. Never is kind of a strong word, and it's just not good advice for everyone. Also, is the condo that you're avoiding actually a zero-lot home that just looks like a condo? You can't tell from looking at it. Stay tuned for the good and the bad of condos and similar property types, and be sure to watch to the end to learn what information every prospective condo buyer is entitled to under the law to help ensure you make an informed purchase decision. Hi everyone, I'm Matt DeFanis, broker owner of RE/MAX Realty Associates with offices in Champaign, Mahomet, and Monticello, Illinois. Today we're going to take a look at condominiums, the good and the bad, so that those of you for whom condos are the right fit don't miss out. To do this, we also need to understand a broad continuum that includes condos but also zero-lot homes, since many of the attributes overlap, especially here in the local market where I work. First things first, let's define some terms. When you purchase a home, you're generally purchasing a direct and exclusive legal interest referred to as fee simple ownership of your home. This is the case for single-family detached houses, but it's also the case for what is referred to in our local market as zero-lot homes. With a house or a zero-lot, you have exclusive ownership of your dwelling and the lot that it sits on. In the case of a zero-lot, the term refers to the fact that one or more of the lot lines runs through a common wall of your unit, thus zero setback from that lot line. But you still own the unit and the lot exclusively. So just like many condominiums, zero-lot homes are typically attached to one or two neighbors, but aside from that, it's like owning a house. In the case of a condo, you acquire fee simple ownership of a specific unit, basically from the exterior walls on in, along with an undivided interest in all common elements. Depending on the type of condominium community, these common elements may be a building lobby, an elevator, a common laundry, or the grounds. But here in my local market, we have relatively few high-rise or vertically stacked condos. More often, you're going to see condominiums here that each have their own exterior entrances, garages, driveways, and their own apparent yard. Now, I say apparent because the owner only has exclusive ownership of the unit itself. What looks like your yard is actually a common area. And when I say that condo ownership includes an undivided interest in all common elements, that means you cannot keep other unit owners out and claim it as your yard. That's why most condos don't allow owners to put up fences. Not only does the owner generally not have exclusive right to that yard space, but it also creates an obstacle course for the lawn care people who are usually paid by the association and ultimately funded by the unit owner's fees. Some condominiums blur this distinction with outside spaces by declaring some areas outside of the unit, such as a balcony, patio, or a small garden space, as having an exclusive easement. That term is just a way of making that space the exclusive responsibility and domain of a specific unit, while recognizing it's outside the dwelling and therefore in an area that would otherwise be considered common space. I said at the top that there's a continuum. On one end of the continuum, you have condos with high fees that include lots of amenities, lots of association responsibility for everything outside the unit's walls, and many restrictions. Now, on the other end of that spectrum, you've got occasional small condo developments with no associations, no fees, few, maybe no, rules, and it's each resident on their own when it comes to exterior maintenance, repairs, and insurance. Now, to further muddy the waters, zero-lot homes overlap heavily with condos on this spectrum. For much of modern history, financing condos has been somewhat more complicated and expensive than financing zero-lot homes. Thanks, Florida. Therefore, many developers have chosen to build clusters of homes that could have been platted as condos, but instead they were built with the technical distinction of being zero-lot. In these zero lots that masquerade as condos, the homeowners association behaves a lot like a typical condo association. It covers the snow removal, garbage hauling, and lawn care. They may also have very similar types of restrictions. In other words, it lives just like a condo while technically being a zero lot and having fewer restrictions on financing. So why the breathless admonitions to never buy a condo? Well, most of the gurus who give this blanket advice focus on the potential downsides of condominium associations, their boards, their rules, their regulations, the fees, and the financing restrictions. And sure, all those items can be bad, but most of those items can be good too. There's nothing like a traditional condominium to facilitate a lifestyle of lock and leave convenience. That is, when you want to leave town, whether it's for a week or for 6 months, just lock your unit's door and go. There's no lawn care to arrange, and you won't ever come back in the dead of winter to find an unplowed driveway. It's also important to consider the unique dynamics of the local market in which you're buying. Now, Florida is famous for massive high-rise condo developments. This includes a cyclical history of overbuilding, since these high-rise communities often have hundreds of units in buildings that require approval years before they're done and can be occupied. There have been numerous cycles in which the market for condos had softened dramatically just in time for a massive new development to come online. That in turn led to slow sales, low occupancy, financial distress for the associations, and this downward spiral of values, which caused the lending market nationally to look at condos as being less secure collateral. Other factors that shape the Florida market include seasonal occupancy and an age range that could be described as heaven's waiting room. By contrast, here in the Champaign-Urbana market, we have an incredibly stable local economy. We're driven by a world-class research university, healthcare, manufacturing, logistics, and government jobs. We also have the youngest population in the state. As a result of our local demographics, condominiums here tend to appeal to a much wider audience that includes older owners, young professionals, grad students, and even some households with kids at home. While we're not a vacation destination, we have a fair number of people who choose to own condos here because they split their time between here and other parts of the country or the world. That makes the lock and leave convenience a major advantage. So if a condo appeals to you, it's important to know that there's a surprisingly broad and diverse market of other buyers in the local market that bodes well for your ability to sell it in the future. So let's talk rules and fees. The rules are generally designed to protect values and ensure quiet enjoyment by all unit owners. And keep in mind, we're typically talking about environments where people are sharing common walls or where your floor may be on top of somebody else's ceiling. Some associations require owner occupancy with no exceptions. Now, that's great for ensuring a community of owners who personally live there and are invested. However, a strict policy with no exceptions might limit your options later if, for example, you were forced to move out of area sooner than expected and it forced you to sell your unit in a down market when you would have preferred to hang on to it and put a tenant in place until the market value increased. Some condo communities seem ideal for short-term rentals, but associations and the owner-occupant unit owners don't usually want an environment where new strangers are constantly cycling through the complex. Thus, relatively few associations allow unrestricted short-term rentals. Pet prohibitions or restrictions are also common, although they've become a little less common in recent years. Some local condos that used to have across-the-board pet prohibitions have dropped those in favor of pet restrictions. Even many subdivisions of single-family detached homes have pet restrictions, so that's nothing terribly onerous. All right, so when it comes to fees, they're often not as bad as you may have been led to believe. Nearly all the fees that are collected go to pay for things you would have been personally or individually doing or paying for if you were in a single-family house. Additionally, the condominium community may enjoy some economy of scale because it's contracting lawn care for many dwellings and snow plowing for many driveways, rather than an isolated one-off homeowner that's going to have to pay more per unit. Then there's insurance. With a house or a zero lot, the owner bears complete financial responsibility for all insurance for the entire building, inside and out, along with contents and liability. In the case of condos, the association has a master policy that ensures the buildings themselves, the common areas, and liability for slip and fall type incidents that may happen in the common areas. That master policy only covers your unit from the drywall on out. So in the event that a fire burns your building all the way to the ground, the master policy is going to rebuild the building, but your individual unit owner policy would need to cover rebuilding kitchens, bathrooms, and the interior finishes. The result is that your individual unit owner insurance is usually much less expensive than a standalone homeowner's insurance policy because there's a lower insurable interest. The last major piece of the financial puzzle with condos is paying for major capital projects or repairs. In a perfect world, the condo association maintains a sizable reserve sufficient to cover any repairs that are not major enough to result in an insurance claim. Likewise, the association would ideally plan years in advance for predictable improvements like a roof or siding replacement. But as I said, that's the ideal and not always the reality. If a condo association cannot get enough votes to increase the monthly fees to fund the appropriate reserves, you could find that an association needs a new roof immediately without having anywhere near enough cash on hand to pay for it. So how does it cover the shortfall? By using a mechanism called a special assessment. I had a recent buyer client whose condo got a special assessment of around $8,000 per unit to pay for new siding. In another case, a 1960s high-rise condo building in Champaign had to do a complete replacement of an original elevator, which ran well into six figures. That resulted in special assessments of more than $10,000 per unit. Well, obviously, not all unit owners can be shaken down for several $1,000s on no notice, so special assessments can often be paid over time. But even so, a payment plan that spreads out the assessment could still often mean having to allocate hundreds of additional dollars per month for a period of a few years, and that's on top of the regular fees. And if you sell your unit with that special assessment balance outstanding, you'll have to pay that remaining balance from your sale as part of your legal obligation to deliver clear title to the buyer. So as I promised at the top, I want to leave you with information that will help protect you if you think that a condo purchase may make sense for you. The worst thing you could do as a condo buyer is purchase a condo based on what looks like a bargain price monthly fee, only to discover later that the association is grossly underfunded and you get hammered with a massive special assessment right after closing. Likewise, you don't want to someday be selling your condo when the association has jacked up fees to try to quickly accumulate the cash for some major project. That puts you in the bad spot of selling a unit with an old roof or old siding while having high fees because they're trying to build up the money to pay for that later. The Illinois Condominium Property Act mandates a ton of disclosures, but only if you know to demand the required information. Most listing agents have no clue what is required, and they therefore rarely have any of this information attached to the listings. Even professional association managers, these are people who have to be licensed, often don't know what is required for disclosure. In the event of any resale of a unit in a master association by a unit owner other than the developer, in other words, when you're reselling units when it's not brand new, that unit owner shall obtain from the board of directors and shall make available for inspection to the prospective purchaser upon demand the following. Number 1, a copy of the declaration, other instruments, and any rules and regulations. Number 2, a statement of any liens, including a statement of the accounting of the unit setting forth the amounts of unpaid assessments and other charges due and owing. Number 3, a statement of any capital expenditures anticipated by the association within the current or succeeding 2 fiscal years. Number 4, a statement of the status and amount of any reserve for replacement fund and any portion of such fund earmarked for any specific project by the board of directors. Number 5, a copy of the statement of financial condition of the association for the last fiscal year for which such statement is available. Number 6, a statement of the status of any pending suits or judgments in which the association is a party. Number 7, a statement setting forth what insurance coverage is provided for all unit owners by the association. And number 8, a statement that any improvements or alterations made to the unit or any part of the common areas assigned thereto by the prior unit owners are in good faith believed to be in compliance with the declaration of the master association. If you're still with me, thank you. Hopefully you can tell from the earlier portions of this video what types of issues these legally mandated disclosures are designed to head off for prospective buyers. So if you're considering a condo, know your rights, because odds are your agent won't. Use those rights to perform sufficient due diligence to ensure that you know what you're getting. Because as you've now heard, for many people, condo living is the ideal way to own your own home without being bogged down by many of the least enjoyable parts of homeownership. As always, my team and I would love to assist you in any way we can, so don't hesitate to get in touch if you have specific questions or would like us to represent you.